Well, one sport facing a huge challenge at grassroots level since coronavirus took hold is rugby.
It's 150 years ago today since the national governing body, the RFU, was formed. And it's fair to say the sport has seen many changes since then, as Kevin Ashford reports.
The pitches are empty at Woodbridge Rugby Club in Suffolk. Community-level rugby has been suspended under lockdown restrictions, and that has had a huge impact.
The reason we have the rugby club is for the community and for showing that back into and seeing the enjoyment that people get from playing rugby, participating in a team sport, and you know, not having that place of a sanctuary for people to go into and enjoy. And you know, that's the bit that we really miss, is not being able to welcome people to the club.
The pandemic is also affecting the way rugby marks a very notable date in its history. 150 years ago, the building behind me was a restaurant, and representatives of 21 clubs got together to form the sport's first governing body, the Rugby Football Union. One of the first decisions by the new union was the selection of an England team to take on Scotland. And the establishment of a union also triggered a series of meetings to come up with a set of laws for the sport. In 1871, teams had 20 players.
If you can imagine a game of rugby with 20 players on each side, it was very attritional, very forward-driven. It would be a contested scrum that would go on for several minutes, and the ball would occasionally break free to let the backs get involved. And that was changed in 1877. The game went down to 15 a side, really to make it more agreeable as a spectator sport and for the people playing, so that they could develop a more open style of rugby.
Since those early days, rugby has seen plenty of other changes. The sport split into rugby union and rugby league. Professionalism was finally accepted in both codes, and women's rugby has boomed. There have also been challenges. The rugby authorities are facing legal action by former players diagnosed with brain injuries. And of course, there's the impact of the pandemic.
It is dark at the moment, and it does feel as though it's a long way off. But actually, I think the community that sits around rugby will ensure that we do get back to a very strong position that we enjoyed as we entered into this pandemic.
Once restrictions are lifted, there will be a special exhibition open to the public at the World Rugby Museum to mark a century and a half of the RFU. Kevin Ashford, ITV News.
Some great memories in there. Okay, it's 6:30.